All right, let's just jump right in. What if, and this is a big what if, everything you think you know about life, about death, about reality itself is just, well, wrong. Today, we're diving into a pretty radical theory, one that's surprisingly grounded in physics, that suggests our existence is absolutely not what it appears to be.
And here's the idea that really kicks it all off, from physicist Thomas Campbell. Now get this, he's not speaking in metaphors here. He's literally suggesting that your consciousness, are the player. And this body you're in, that's just your avatar in a mind-blowingly sophisticated virtual reality.
So what if we just run with that for a minute? Let's take that question seriously. We're going to unpack this whole model of reality and look at some pretty startling evidence that suggests, this might be way more than just a wild theory.
Okay, so let's dig into Campbell's model. He's not talking about a universe made of physical stuff that's just sitting there. No, he's describing our reality as this incredibly sophisticated, information-based, simulation. He actually has a name for this source code, if you will. He calls it the Larger Consciousness System, or LCS for short. The easiest way to think about it, imagine a massive, non-physical server. Its entire purpose is to create and run experiences for individual units of consciousness. And yeah, that's us. We're the individual units.
And this is where the perspective shift gets really interesting. We all just assume reality is on all the time, right? Everywhere. But in this LCS model, it's way more efficient. Think about a video game. The game engine doesn't render the entire world at once. That would be a huge waste of processing power. It only renders what you, the player, are looking at. The system only computes what's needed right when it's needed.
So what are the rules of this game? Well, the most important thing to get is that life in this model is not some random accident. It's a purposeful, multiplayer learning environment. And death isn't the end. It's not game over. It's just logging out of the session. You're done with this particular avatar and you return to the main system to, process everything you just learned.
Okay, now this might all sound like really cool sci-fi or philosophy, but here's the twist. This model actually finds some of its strongest support in the super weird, totally counterintuitive world of quantum physics.
And listen to this. This quote isn't even from Campbell. It's from Dr. Robert Lanza, a guy Time magazine named one of their 100 most influential people. His theory is called Biocentrism, and he comes at it from a totally different angle, but he lands in a remarkably similar place. He's saying that consciousness isn't just some little thing that happens in the universe, it's absolutely fundamental to the universe even existing.
And one of the biggest pieces of evidence for this is something called the observer effect. This is real, proven quantum mechanics. It's bizarre. A particle, like an electron, doesn't really have a definite location or specific properties until we actually look at it, until we measure it. The very act of us observing it seems to be what collapses all the possibilities into one actual physical reality. I mean, how perfectly does that fit with the idea of a reality that's rendered on demand?
This chart just lays out the paradigm shift perfectly. For centuries, we've had this materialist view. The universe is physical, and our brains, this 3-pound lump of meat, somehow magically create consciousness. The biocentrism view and the LCS model, they flip that completely on its head. They say no, consciousness is the fundamental thing, and it uses tools like what we call space and time to create the experience of a physical universe.
But okay, the clues aren't just hiding in these tiny subatomic particles. They also show up in these really profound human experiences. The kind of stuff that conventional materialist science has always had a really hard time explaining.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem for the old model. If your brain is the source of consciousness, right? If it's the thing creating your mind, then how can your mind still be on when your brain is completely off? This is the huge puzzle posed by things like near-death experiences. I mean, if the mind is just brain activity, then when the brain flatlines, the mind should just stop. Poof, gone. But that's not what thousands upon thousands of people report. And this isn't just anecdotal. Let's look at the actual data. A major study of cardiac arrest survivors, this one led by Dr. Samparnia, found that a staggering 39%, nearly 4 out of 10 people, reported some kind of awareness while they were clinically dead. We're talking no measurable brain activity at all.
And if we break that number down, you can see these weren't just some vague, fuzzy feelings. A huge chunk had these transcendent experiences. And look at this, 7% had auditory awareness, 3.5% even had visual awareness.
They could hear conversations, see events happening in the room, all while doctors would tell you their brain was completely offline.
And it gets even weirder. We're talking about verifiable NDEs, patients who can accurately describe things that happen in other rooms, conversations they couldn't possibly have overheard. And then there's this incredible phenomenon called terminal lucidity. This is when someone with severe Alzheimer's or massive brain damage suddenly, just moments before death, becomes completely clear, completely lucid. I mean, ask yourself, how can a machine that's completely broken suddenly start working perfectly again? It just doesn't make sense, unless the brain isn't the machine producing the consciousness in the first place.
Okay, so let's just go with this model for a second. If this is how reality works, what's our role in this system? What does it all mean for you and me? Well, for one thing, it means we are not just passive observers here. We're not just watching a movie unfold. We are active players. And our choices? They're the primary drivers of the entire system.
The way it all works, according to Campbell, is through a really elegant feedback loop. It all comes down to your intent, the quality of your choices, the why behind them. That intent modifies future probabilities, and then the system, it just renders experiences that show you the consequences of those choices. It's not about reward or punishment, not karma in that sense. It's just neutral data. It's feedback for your own learning and growth.
And this is happening all the time, constantly. Every single thought, every little interaction, every decision you make, it's all sending a signal out. So those experiences that come back to you, the repeating patterns you see in your life, the kinds of relationships you always seem to find yourself in, that's the system's response. It's giving you another chance, another choice point, to maybe try something different.
And this leads to a pretty profound takeaway. Free will isn't just some nice philosophical idea. It's the literal engine of this entire system. Think about it. Without genuine choice, there's no new data. Without new data, there's no learning, no growth, no evolution of consciousness. Your choices, your free will choices, are what fuel the entire reality.
And again, just to be clear, this idea that consciousness is fundamental isn't some wacky New Age thing. This is Max Planck, the father of quantum theory. He basically said the same thing over a century ago. The greatest minds in physics have been bumping up against this problem, this conclusion, for a very, very long time.
So, let's put all the pieces together. What's the big takeaway here? It's a total, radical reframing of what your life is. It stops being this random, chaotic series of events that just happen to you. Instead, it becomes this incredibly personalized training ground, a curriculum designed specifically for the evolution of your consciousness.
And the ultimate implication of that? It's that nothing is wasted. No experience you have is meaningless. Every single moment is a choice, and every choice you make is valuable data. Data that not only shapes your own path forward, but actually contributes to the evolution of the entire system. Which, of course, leaves us with one last big question. If any of this is even partly true, if your consciousness really is the player and this life is the game, what message do you want your life to send? If your choices are the data you're feeding back into the system, what do you want that data to say?